if I want to go back to WWE, sure. If the contract is good, if they want me there, of course. Right now, it's not so interesting. Right now, I'm more interested in maybe going to Japan and maybe find something where I can be myself.
Well, thanks so much for joining us from the other side of the world, too.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Yes, I'm here in Germany, good old Germany.
My father actually speaks German, so the only thing he's ever taught me is Guten Tag.
Ah, Guten Tag.
So my dad was born and raised in Canada, just like me, but worked for Lufthansa, the German airlines. So he actually had to learn how to speak German in order to, be able to conduct business.
That sounds hard because German is such a difficult language. Not as difficult as maybe Arabic or Russian, but like the pronunciation, because English is such a soft speaking language, but we have those and sh in like our words. So he must have a hard time with that.
Is it difficult to learn English?
No, not at all. I learned
Really?
English with MTV and Jim Ross speaking about what I can see on the television. Like school English never really taught me English. It gave me some words and maybe some nouns and everything. But like really like speaking English, I learned with communicating with most of the time some British pro wrestlers, some American pro wrestlers as well. And then of course watching WWE, because we had some great German commentators here. But I was more interested in the actual commentator because German can be sometimes such a boring language because we are not as entertaining as, for example, American people. And that's why I was really interested into listening to Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, especially Jim Ross, how he described things. And I felt like this was how I learned English. So I remember it was the Hell in the Cell match not the Hell in the Cell match. It was the title match between Austin and Kane at King of the Ring in '89. They had the first blood match, and he described the gear from Kane, where he had no like showing some skin. So he had this full body suit with his red flames on it, and he described that he cannot bleed because he has not an open spot on his gear. So, and I understood that even with not speaking English, but so sometimes your brain is a very funny thing which works in a different kind of ways. And yeah, I feel I just learned a lot, especially MTV, because you had all these reality shows and everything with the German subtitles. And this is how you learn language the best, I believe.
And how old were you when you were learning English?
Oh, let me think about it. Very like, of course, you start with school. So
Sure.
Fifth grade. No, actually fourth grade here, but like just colors and counting. And then you really have the topic in school at the fifth grade. But I believe I really got into the English 2000s when I really start getting heavily into professional wrestling with watching it and just screaming and yelling all the catchphrases. Do not know what it means. If you smell what the Rock is cooking, and believed it was the coolest thing ever, or just torturing my English teacher with what, so being a wrestling fan with all those attitude era catchphrases, and she probably did not knew what I tried to tell you with you smell what the Rock is cooking, but I didn't know either, but it was cool.
Yeah, that phrase probably doesn't make any sense to someone who's trying to like learn English.
Yeah, so many sentences or like phrases in English does not make any sense in German, but the other way around the same. Like we have some stupid phrases. There's actually a funny story behind that. In the locker room, Samoa Joe once read a couple of German phrases and with the easy translation to English.
Yeah.
And I was the one who explaining like the sentence. And in the back, Claudio, he was, I guess, shaving. He left his ass off. Chris, he speaks German too, but it was such a funny thing because we have a lot of, I don't know, for example, if you want to buy a television and you buy it from a guy from the street and you do not know if it works or you do not know the features, but you buy it, in Germany we say, I do not want to buy the cat in the sack. because
Okay.
you do not know if it's alive or dead.
Okay.
So, for example, but explain it to somebody in America,
Yeah.
but otherwise in America, beat around the bush, and you
Yep.
explain it in Germany, you think, what do you do with the bush? You
Yeah.
beat around the bush? Why you beat around? So,
Right. Yeah. There's so many. I'm sure in every language this is the case,
oh
but
yeah,
in English, there are definitely some ridiculous phrases that,
yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of phrases we don't even understand that we just say all the time. I say without further ado all the time, but do I say,
Mhm.
with further ado? Like, what is an ado? We don't say ado.
But we say it, and probably we know what it is. Like, especially like without further ado is also typical for a wrestling promo.
Yes.
Something, or what my favorite is, to be honest. Oh, now you're honest, but the other
Yes.
time you're never honest.
Yeah.
So always you say, to be honest, like, okay.
Yeah. If I'm being honest with you, it's like, hold on,
Yeah,
you were lying to me this whole time?
yeah, right.
Gee.
That's cool.
So that means at a young age, you were all in and dedicated to wrestling.
Yeah, I started with wrestling training in 13. Oh,
Yeah,
with
that's insane.
13 years.
I don't think you can do that in America.
No, not in America, not legally, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, I saw a lot of videos where maybe younger people tried to, do wrestling on a trampoline or something. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
in
me.
Germany,
You were
it
watching
was
those
more.
videos of me, I feel like.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
probably some other guys, because you're still healthy.
Yeah, I haven't broken my neck yet, knock on wood.
I remember in Germany. So wrestling in Germany is not categorized. Like, it's not in a category with sport and not with art, and it's official by the government, and it's right in between. But you cannot say it's sport, but also you cannot say art, which is ridiculous in my opinion. In the United States, for example, it's different,
Yeah.
right? Or in Japan, for example, it's sport. But in Germany, they still don't get it. They still love their soccer, their football, and they still love their other sports stuff and whatever it is, badminton or something. But wrestling does not count in any of those categories. And I think because of that, they do not have laws for, hey, you cannot start going to wrestling school or doing wrestling stuff with 13, because it's under the radar.
Yeah.
But also, if we just spoke about like the backyard wrestling,
Yeah.
I remember German television just saw in America backyard wrestling and just used it right away as negative propaganda and say, yeah, it's all like maniacs, and then like it's dangerous for the kids because they acting like and showed, of course, the Hell in the Cell match for Mick Foley and stuff. So they've been like very negative about it, and especially in that time when I started with wrestling, the wrestling scene was dead. There was the time before, which all like with all the crazy big tournaments where they promoted shows, I don't know, like over weeks, over months, and every day they had a show, and every day was filled, was packed with people, 10,000 people, and it was like the catch tournament years with, for example, Dave Taylor, Fit Finlay. Fit Finlay, he used to live in Germany and was like traveling in a caravan around Germany, and made the business was good. They made a lot of money, and they wrestled every day in front of people, and they believed in wrestling. It's real. So, and then after this was gone and the business was dead, probably after people realized, oh, it's fake, they stopped going to the shows, and the wrestling scene was kind of like a little bit in the nowhere. And then you had some guys starting doing wrestling shows, but just the guys who been too small, too light, not the big heavyweight pounders. And back in that time, they protected the business from kind of wannabes. And then in that time, a lot of wannabes, they tried to, become professionals and did shows, but the shows not being that good. So it took a lot of time till the German wrestling scene could kind of recover from that, or just reinvent itself.
Yeah.
So right now it's probably the brightest and the biggest, especially after COVID was really good.
Yeah.
Because the biggest promotion in Germany, without a doubt, is WXW, West Side Extreme Wrestling. And they have the biggest European tournament every year. It's called 16 Karat Gold Tournament. And it's over 3 days. And in 2020, they had each day over 1,000 people in the arena, and that was the record. So this is kind of like how the German wrestling scene grew over the years. Around 2,000, maybe 30 people in the venue, or maybe at the highest, maybe 100. And then you have 2020, and you have 3 days in a row over 1,000 people in the venue. So I think that was a good growth.
Wrestling aside, who is the German national treasure? Who's the person from Germany that has made it huge and you guys all go, we're so proud of that person?
In professional wrestling?
No, outside, like just in the world in general.
I believe, and he's not German, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's Austrian though, right?
Yes, he's Austrian. He's not German. Shame on me. I do not know. I would maybe from Germany. I would say, like, if you stay with sports, Christopher Nowinski, because I remember he had a huge influence on basketball over there, because he was one of the top players for Dallas Mavericks, I believe. There is the other guy. He's a nice guy. He's not an asshole or anything, but they always considered him as an second-hand Arnold Schwarzenegger. His name was Ralph Möller. He played a side role in Gladiator, like a big, strong, muscular, like bodybuilding guy. He was a German actor, and he tried to follow the footsteps of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Other thing, like Christoph Waltz, he's Austrian as well, but German speaking. But otherwise, not really a lot of like actors. Like,
and you are added to that list now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was happy with that. I was lucky. I was fortunate enough, right place, right time. But still, wrestling is such a small little scene still in Germany. So, and I do not want to become, get a big ego or anything. So I keep the church in the village. That's not a catchphrase.
So if you did, if you were a big wrestling fan early on, was it your dream and your goal to one day do this for a living?
Yes, of course. I started watching wrestling with 5 or 6 years old because my parents used to watch it, and I was fascinated right away because I was always a fan of like comics and animes, like Turtles and He-Man and all that stuff. And then I saw like the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. I was fascinated right away. And then I remember the first pay-per-view I watched was WrestleMania 9, Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, with Bret Hart and Yokozuna and all like the gimmicks, and Undertaker against Giant Gonzalez, and I was right away in love with wrestling. Then I had to stop watching it because of school, and then I picked it up again, and this time even more and bigger in 2000s. Royal Rumble 2000, for example, was the pay-per-view I kind of restarted my journey with being a wrestling fan. And then after I just got into wrestling, of course, I always had the goal for, I do not want to become a normal 9-to-5 worker. I want to become a professional wrestler. Then later was kind of like reality in the way of, okay, you have to finish your school and you have to do like, your work, you have to study something, yada, yada, yada. But then after realizing, okay, now wrestling as a hobby can be a side job, and then can be kind of like enough to make a living, not really a fortunate living, but kind of, have a kind of income from it. It was okay though. But after I got the opportunity to sign with WWE, that was kind of a dream come true. So I believe in manifest things, and unintentionally maybe I manifest like, oh, this would be my dream, and I always dreamed about it, always believed in myself. I always was positive minded with that, and then sooner or later it hit me with a contract, and then of course I took the opportunity, and now I'm a professional wrestler. I can live from it.
Well, you make it sound so easy that just, I got a contract and I work for WWE, but there was years and years and years of hard work. Yeah. So I'm curious to know, how did you get on WWE's radar?
So as I mentioned before, WXW is the biggest promotion in Germany. And on that time, so before 2015, when I started my journey with WWE, I think I started 2009, and then regularly 2011 with WXW. And that time, this company grew bigger and bigger and bigger because we did tours in Germany. So we had the weekend on the east part of Germany, then we had the weekend on the north part, etc., etc. And that was, yeah, in 1 month, if you're lucky, you had one free weekend. But if you have one free weekend, you're on other shows. But the majority of the time, I just wrestled for WXW. And people come and go. You have some guys got booked for the show, and some people regulars, and then you learn some people from different companies. And in that time was I was one of the now German commentators. He was a wrestler. He was a part of 16 Carats on a year, and I'm always cool with people. I do not like to, mess around and just, being. I like to be a nice person because it's like a boomerang, and I always respect everybody and everywhere, and that helps me a lot, like to get along with almost everybody, even if I maybe sometimes more like a lone wolf. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, and this guy just texted me once or just sent me an email, say, hey, WWE is looking for German talents. Are you interested in doing a tryout in London? And that was 2014. So I had a lot of time and to, create myself as an independent wrestler. I had some tours before that. And because of all those experiences I had collected, I became a better performer. I became a bigger name in the German wrestling scene. And because I was cool with him, and he was kind of like, he's maybe a good guy because he's a good wrestler, and he's one of the top guys in Germany, so you should try him out. And WWE contacted me. I gave him some promo pics and just being professional as I can, and they invited me to try out to the O2 Arena in May 2014 in London, England. Yeah, and we had 2 days of drills and everything, and I guess I did a great job because 2 months later they contacted me and offered me a contract for the NXT developmental process.
And then you were like, all right, I'm going to pick up my life and I'm going to move to Orlando.
Oh yeah, it was not that easy as it sounds, but in my head it was super, super easy because first I got the call and I saw a weird number with the US flag on top, and that was calling me right there. And then it was the guy in charge, and he asked me, hey, it's here and there, and you remember from the tryout, and I call you because I want to tell you we want to hire you for NXT contract, and you want to take it. And before he finished the sentence, you want to take it? I said yes. So without a doubt, I just said yes, and I was not in that time super happy because I have to process it, but like after a while, I said, oh my god, here we go, next step. So let's go to the big league or bigger.
What do you think was the biggest difference between the wrestling that you were doing on the independent scene in Germany to when you got into NXT developmental? What was the biggest adjustment?
I think the business aspect of it. Yeah. Because so I'm a total different wrestler than before I joined WWE. Joining WWE, I knew kind of I have to start from the beginning, which is fine. But it was quite hard to understand the whole business aspect of it. In kind of not the hardest working person will get a piece of the cake. It's okay, who's the favor, who is the guy who is right now the persona we want to show on television. And it's not a hit on WWE, it's just reality, right? Sure. If you're an actor and you probably fit in that role, there are some other actors, maybe you're better acting people, but they do not fit in that role. So, and that was the thing. I always worked my butt off to be on top. I always worked hard at training, just to be in a better ring shape, not like physical shape, but ring shape than other people with stamina and with just be able to wrestle for 20 minutes. And I always believed in my craft because that was what got me signed to WWE. And then when you start in Performance Center, you have to learn to be patient. You have to learn to kind of, fit into the group. Even, they always want to make you part of the family, but it's still a competition. It's still, I'm better than you, so I should get pushed to the moon right now, or they should put the machine behind me. So, you're still competing against each other, but in a healthier way than in boxing, for example. And just to arrive there and have to adapt not only a different culture, even if Germany is also westernized culture, America and Germany is so different from behaviors and everything. Most of the stuff is very similar, but a lot of things are like very different. And then also you have to figure out new life. You have to, even WWE had to figure out in that time how to treat foreigners in a way of like, I just moved here. Yeah. I need to have the social security number to pay my bills, to actually create a bill, and also to, find an apartment, because 1 week of hotel is not enough. You have to book me more. But they didn't know. I was part of the first big international group, and they didn't know anything. But there was one guy who really helped us out. It was David Bailey, former general manager of the Performance Center. He was very good because he used to work with the circus of like foreign athletes or foreign performers. So he was really the GOAT who sort everything out with very easy and give us like really like, hey guys, easy, we find a solution, no worries. But in the end, it was kind of like a lot of stuff in the moment, especially when you start like, hey, I was probably one of the top 5 guys in Germany, so come over right now. And the only promotion WWE did was, oh, he was a former German soldier, because that's big time in America, but in Germany nobody cares.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to follow into, okay, I cannot do the same wrestling style I did on the Indies, which made me successful in Germany. I have to apply by, okay, we work with cameras here. Yes, we do in Germany as well. Yeah, but no live television and no this and that. We work for cameras because the majority of the people sit behind the camera watching at the television, and you have to adapt to that. Also, you easily step on somebody's foot, because especially in that time, it was more throat cutting in NXT with some egos and with some guys who think they're the shit. But for me, it being the shit, and you have to kind of like, swallow it down, because you're a new guy. You cannot go, head to head with somebody and tell him the truth. And, you maybe work with that guy. And also like, it was kind of like a little bit, you got kind of like, what's the word for that? Indoctrinated to follow the system. The system of this is the developmental, your goal should be on the main roster. And those are the veterans right now. Those are the guys who've been here for years. So you should listen to them. But like, it was kind of like a cool mentality, because you had some good guys, but the majority of it was sometimes, you're walking a lot of eggshells. If you don't, you feel too comfortable. And they made sure that you are too comfortable right now. So make sure you go back to the eggshells. Yeah. So
with all that said, and you moving to America from Germany, when you were released, did you immediately go, all right, I'm going to go back to Germany? Or did you think about staying in Florida?
No, I had my plan B ready.
And was plan B to move back to Germany?
Yeah. So I tried to ask them that I could move back completely to Germany. The plan B was, what if that happens, right? Because nothing is for sure, especially not in WWE. Nothing is guaranteed, even not a guaranteed contract, because they can release you like this, as we see in the last weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not stupid, and I'm realistic, and I'm adult enough that I, have to plan for the future, especially with wife and a kid.
Yeah.
So I cannot rely on empty promises, and I did that too many times in my time in WWE. That being said, when I got the call and they said, "Hey, we not release you, we let your contract expire," and I was still on the main roster contract. Probably they want to save the money for the 90-day no compete clause. I was okay. I want to move back to Germany anyway. I was asking for it, but I did not have the time really to talk to Hunter about that. So they probably, gave me my wish just a little bit earlier, and with a slight difference that they will not renew my contract. I was trying to go back to Germany because the majority of my working, was in England for NXT UK.
Yeah.
But then I had to go back. So now let's start from the beginning. I was in Germany from December 2019 over the year for the holidays to see my family, and then we decided to stay in Germany because it was nice to be back home. And then my wife had the idea, like, hey, let's get an apartment here, and how about we travel back and forth. So 6 months we've been in Florida over the winter time, because winter time sucks in Germany.
Sure.
And that summertime in Florida is the worst because it's always rainy and super hot. We go to Germany because summertime in Germany is pretty nice. So that was the plan. But then we had to travel back to America, but then we couldn't because of COVID.
Right.
Then we find a chance to go back because the administration changed the rule of, if you have a son who's born in America, which my son is, you can pass the border and you be back in America. So we did that because in that time I was living in Miami and I paid rent for a house, and that was a lot of rent, a lot of money for rent, and we tried to move back to Central Florida. So we came back and I tried to kind of stay busy, just to talk with Sean and, hey, I'm back in the States, let me do something with the other guys from Imperium, with Marcel and Fabian. And then it took a time, blah blah blah, and then like a couple of months ago I got the call, we will not renew your contract. So but before that I tried to speak with them, hey, I want to move back completely to the States. Because of family reasons. It's nice to be back home. It's nice to be around my parents because they do not get younger, and also social contact. The majority of my friends are here. The majority of my wife's friends are here in Germany as well, and also I would love that my son grows up with grandparents, because family is the most important thing in life, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now that you're there, what's your plan?
My plan is just do indies for now and then see what's going on. Because
like indies within Europe, you mean?
Yes. I had my first match after WWE last weekend, or last weekend is August 7th for WXW. They had the first big show after the pandemic again in Oberhausen, Germany, with around 500, 600 fans. They had the chance to fill up a capacity of 700 people. So it's the first big wrestling show back in Germany, and I had the opportunity to work against one of the newer generation of German professional wrestlers. His name is Fast Taimudo, very talented guy. And yeah, that was kind of my re-debut in Germany and my debut again back on the indie scene.
Is your hope to eventually maybe work something out with WWE again? Go to, lots of other options now, New Japan, AEW, Impact Wrestling. Do you want to get signed somewhere else?
Yeah, I would love to. Why not? Because that's, in the end, it's the goal. Of course, I'm very happy with having my freedom back and be my own boss again, that I can decide what I can do and what not. But also, like, it's the goal, I guess, of every wrestler, that eventually he wants to have a bigger contract with guarantee money, where in the best case, the value of the worker is appreciated and he has a good spot and feels happy about what he's doing and what he's earning. Of course, if I want to go back to WWE, sure. If the contract is good, if they want me there, of course. Right now, it's not so interesting. Right now, I'm more interested in maybe going to Japan and maybe find something where I can be myself and I can wrestle. That's my main goal right now, because I'm a passionate wrestler. I love this sport so much, and even if I'm very grateful for my time in WWE, I had some times where they tried to kill my passion for it, and they almost were successful with it. And that is something, when I review that, again, I learned so much about this business in those 6 years working with the biggest wrestling company in the world, but also learning a lot of things, what, for example, empty promises. Nothing is for granted if it's not written on paper and signed by somebody. You mentioned, for example, like New Japan, would love to, big fan. you mentioned something like AEW, awesome new promotion. And as you can see, the fan base is so big and the product is such a, new fresh air. It reminds me on those days when, reminds me on the Attitude Era, even if it's, still something for kids and it's not sexist and whatever, but
Yeah.
it's that feeling when you watch it, everything can happen. And, I do not have the feeling if I watch Raw and SmackDown. And even if, my opinion, one of the best wrestlers of the world are signed with WWE, you can be the best wrestler of the world. If the program is not good, you cannot do anything. And Ring of Honor is very interesting as well. Impact Wrestling is very interesting as well. NWA, MLW, you name it.
There's a lot of options.
And that's just the States. You
Yeah.
have so many promotions in England, for example. They are not big contract promotions, but they're also very interesting. Even in Mexico, even in Japan, there's more than just New Japan Pro Wrestling. You have also like All Japan, and it's such an exciting time for me.
Yeah.
But for now, if anything comes in, cool. I don't believe so because international travel is not that open right now, I believe. I'm not for sure. But also very interesting is the fact that you have so many great talents out there, but also you have so many great promotions out there. And if something comes along, if everything fits, I'm more than willing to sign a new contract. But for now, I believe the rest of the year, I just wanna have my freedom, do some indies, just get my name out, because I did not have the chance in 2015 or before that, because the indie boom happened 2016 for England, for example, where like guys like Pete Dunne and everybody made a name for himself.
Yeah.
With promoting in front of a ridiculous amount of people, which was not a regular thing for the independent promotion. Because I remember like a lot of guys in England, they really thrive to come down to Germany and just wrestle for WXW, because we grew the audience very big there. And then 2016 happened. I was over in the States and I realized we're speaking with my friends Walter and Marcel that, wow, it's a big boom right here and business is good and they make a lot of money with even merchandise and everything. So, but I was contract with WWE and I was still in a performance center and do like learn my craft there. And right now I have the chance to really just see what I can do and see how I fit in that, or just competing with newer talents, just, get my pride back. That's the majority of the thing. Get my pride back as a professional wrestler, just a tour around. Also want to do seminars and everything to pass on the knowledge I just got from one of the best in the world in professional wrestling. So I'm super happy with that. And I'm very excited what comes next for me.
It just seems like there's a lot of people who spend some time in WWE and they say what you're saying. They say, I started to lose my passion. What is it specifically that took your passion away?
Specifically for me is that, so it's not that I could not do what I want to do, because sometimes somebody has to tell you don't do that because it's not right, or it's not good. And this is the good part, because you never stop learning. And especially when I watch matches back from 2015, I hate myself, because everybody evolves as a person in life, and also you evolve as a performer in life, and as a wrestler, you learn more techniques, you learn more ways to go this direction and making this. And especially those 6 years, being around guys like Shawn Michaels, William Regal, and all those crazy coaches. And I have a whole list, and I would like to name them all. Norman Smiley, for example, and Robbie Brookside. Let's go to the list. Steve Corino, Scotty Jotty, Terry Taylor, Fit Finlay. Fit Finlay was, for example, the one who kind of like showed me how to wrestle. 2011, I had a seminar with him in WXW, and then my last month in NXT, I was like a free bird. I could like choose my classes, and I always went to Finlay because he's the guy to go to if you want to do like traditional wrestling, or just really learn how to wrestle in the proper way, like good European style way. And being influenced by those guys, and especially Shawn Michaels, because he's not the guy who works with you in the ring, he works with you right here. He teaches you a lot of like the psychology, how to how to get the people involved in the match, how to get emotions out of people, how to, just get everything in the right order to get the most amount of reactions from the people. And being able right now to do that, and being able to do it on an easy way that I do not have to think about too much in the match, is something where I will be forever grateful. But a lot of times killing the passion is more in the way of just somebody tells you something and it's not happening because they have to change something. And it's not their fault. Sometimes, especially in COVID, they had big plans for everything, but then COVID hit and they had to, switch plans, or people got released, or right now we have to follow the protocols. So somebody got tested positive, so we cannot do the story because after 7 weeks, the story is not good anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a passion killer, but it's not their fault. It's not my fault. What I would think is their fault is you do not have to make empty promises, and especially in the time on SmackDown, they've been kind of like very unrealistic to a lot of things, or they told us things which never happened, but they always try to keep you positive. And I'm from Germany, and there's something like in very honest way of just communicating with people here. So if you do something shit, I tell you it's shit. Sorry for cussing, but
it's okay. It's the internet.
We do not beat around the bush. A lot of times, like I have a good friend from a band, and he brought out an LP, and he was at the merchandise table, and it was a show in Germany. And he always tells me the stories, like the brutal German honesty. That's how they call it. It was like, man, the last album, I loved it. The music was dope and everything. The new one is straight shit. I don't like it, but the last one is great. So, and this is how I would love to get treated. I want an honesty. I want that somebody tells me, hey, this is not good, knock it off, and I will work on it because I'm a professional. You tell me you want to have it in a different way, I go in a different way as best as I can, as best I can do it with my ability, with my skill set and everything, but you have to tell me otherwise. And a lot of times they came through and mentioned something. I heard something from somebody, he heard that in a meeting, he was not there, that somebody told him, you shit. What the hell? And then I have to follow, the lead of, okay, who was the guy who heard it from the horse's mouth? And in the best case, let's go to that guy, but he has a guy who tells you the truth because he does not want to be honest with you because it's not professional. So that was something which pissed me off a lot of times. And then also, everything is fine. We will work on it. Don't worry. Stuff like that. But
was this specifically stuff with SAnitY?
Yeah. If like specifically what we had on SmackDown, that was the thing. Like they told us, we lost our debut match, and they told us, no, don't worry, everything is fine. Yeah. People will forget about that. But we have nowadays the internet. Internet doesn't forget. Doesn't matter what you do. Somebody takes a screenshot, somebody remembers. There's a data bank, a database, whatever. So, okay, you say we're fine, cool.
Yeah.
And then we have to figure something out. Okay, we already figured something out. Here's the pitch. Maybe you use it. Okay, but if you pitch it to one guy, maybe it does not goes up to Vince McMahon in that time.
Well, it sounds like
right now.
It sounds like you still had the passion for wrestling in the ring, but the business side of things definitely might have killed your passion.
Yeah, that was maybe the thing. Yeah. Definitely, because we still like to wrestle. We had like when Eric Young and Kieran Dane, now Big Damo again. We always loved to wrestle. We had fun on the house shows. We had fun in the locker room, like from top to bottom. Everybody was great, and you have just great guys. We had the opportunity, or we had the pleasure to work with New Day and Usos and Good Brothers and everything. Like all like guys who've been in the business forever, and they taught us so much. And we kind of always like clicked together, and just everybody was nice with each other, and it was a great time. But as you say, probably the business aspect killed us, because it's not about that somebody makes more money. it's not that somebody sells more merchandise. It is what it is. That's also a thing what I learned in that time. You can have the goal of being a world champion, but you have to realize maybe you never will be the world champion, but the goal is to have the job and just to be 100% in your abilities. So for example, if you have somebody like William Regal, he is employed since 1989.
Wow.
No, 98. 98.
Yeah.
So
98, okay.
So what a career, right?
Yeah.
He's so long in that company, and he has done some hokey stuff. He has done some serious stuff. He was champion, but he never was a world champion. And he was one of the guys I always loved to talk with him, and he always tells a lot of stories about like the past, but also he also makes you understand more the business. And that was, for example, a great time for me to understand it, but it was too late for me to really realize it. So that was probably one of the things where I got my passion back, because I understood what I'm into right now. But in that time, and also the call up, it was too early for us. So not only we got called up too early, but I think just me, probably not the other guys, but just me. I was not mature enough to realize where I am right now. Not also, how can I describe it in the best way? Right now, I would talk in a different way with the same people I talked back then, but I was not confident enough. I was maybe not sure enough how I talked to Vince McMahon, because maybe the language barrier or the knowledge about speaking, for example, with guys like Mark Carrano, just to believe him. But I should not believe it, because again, nothing is written on paper and signed.
Yeah.
So, and they can tell you everything what they want to, and they can straight up lie to you, but you do not know it because you're excited. You think, let's go. I'm super motivated on my part. Let's go to the moon. But the other guy says, dude, I do not have a rocket. So take the car and try.
Speaking of SAnitY, what do you think of what Nikki Cross is doing now as Nikki ASH?
I love it, because Nikki is such an amazing person in life, one of my best friends. And yeah, I toured with her together. We never met before, but I met Damo before, and he's also one of my best friends, and both are awesome people. So when she came to NXT, I knew, okay, that is Damo's fiance. So we all right away clicked together, became friends, toured together, and then when she joined us with SAnitY, was the perfect fit. And seeing now from that part on what she's doing right now, being the Raw Women's Champion, having this gimmick where you think like superhero, and then you see the actually act what she's doing, which is great, because this is perfect for WWE right now. Yeah, in my opinion. If the first thought is like superhero, like Hurricane, but then it's more like, okay, it's more like the motivation part of that. Everybody can be a superhero if you believe in yourself, if you maybe work hard for something, or even if you kind of like have a dream and you want to achieve that dream, but and everybody is a superhero, and that message is so powerful, and it fits perfect for WWE.
Yeah. How much also speaking of SAnitY, I've interviewed Eric Young several times. I think he's awesome. Fellow Canadian. How much did you learn from working with him?
A lot. I learned to, work the crowd better. So, because he has done everything.
Yes.
Like on TNA, he did the hokey stuff. He was a world champion right there. He was even the women's champion,
Yeah, speaking of superheroes, he was Super Eric.
He was a superhero as well, yeah. So EY taught me a lot of things. Like even EY was the guy who taught me a lot, like in the business, with like how to, what to do, and doing promos and following a script and working with the cameras and everything. Because before that, I just had some matches on television, but as an enhancement guy, or just doing dark matches or doing live shows. But starting as a member of SAnitY and having him in the group was a big advantage for me, because he told me, hey, turn that way, or do this, or just follow that camera and just wait a bit, or like little, very important details, which a lot of people don't know, which I didn't know, but I had again the advantage to have him on my side, and he's a perfectionist in a lot of things, and I love that, what he's doing right now with Violent by Design. This is basically his vision of SAnitY, what he had, and I'm so happy for him that he can finally, paint his own canvas with that, just under the Impact umbrella. And he's such a great leader on camera and even in behind the camera and everything. So I think without him, SAnitY would not have been so successful.
Right. So you're wrestling under your real name now, right?
Yes. Axel
How come
Tischer.
it's a great name too. How come you weren't able to use this in WWE?
Copyrights,
Yeah.
Some people can use it, but again, like I never had a big exposure and everything. You know what I mean? So that the German wrestling scene was still small. Some of the guys I wrestled before, like Tommaso, Apollo Crews on WXW, and again in Germany I was probably one of the top 5, but nobody knew me in America. Not even own company who hired me because I was a good professional wrestler. They just, again mentioned that I was a German soldier.
Yeah.
So I did not came in with the big buzz as some American fellas or like English fellas.
Yeah.
So, and I remember they pitched some names to me, which been utter nonsense, because obviously
give us one of these nonsense names.
Hans van Gus, Klaus van Gus, something like that. So
that's pretty bad.
I do not remember the whole list, but it's something you wear in uniform and wear a sign, which is forbidden in Germany and probably should be forbidden in the world. Oh. So it's weird, and it's like the stereotypes, and that's something. Of course, we have those stereotypes, but I'm from Germany. Germany has more history than just war or just World War II, where bad things happened. And that was basically.
Are you saying this would be like a Nazi type character?
Probably not that they said they want to have one, but if I have a name from that time, Germany is very sensitive about that topic.
Sure.
Patriotism in Germany is not as big as in America. I think it's a good thing, but also I understand why people in Germany say do not show that flag.
Yeah.
For example, in Germany, waving the German flag is a good thing when you have a world championship in soccer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they kind of see you as you probably from the right side-ish. So that's Germany, for example. And in a lot of things, when I did something on television and it was something German, a lot of times, like people in the comments, they mention kind of like, "Oh my God, he does a Nazi character." So I wore on one occasion, I wore a gray coat, and my outfit was green, copper, and gray. So nothing with Germany, but I wore a gray coat, and they thought I'm right now an SS officer or something. I don't know. My first match against Samoa Joe, I had one part where I had the chance to do something. It was something I hit Joe, and I had to run into the ropes, and I thought, okay, now the camera's on me. Let's say something. And I said, "Hurra, hurra, der Deutsche, der ist da," which means hooray, hooray, the German guy is here. And that's a phrase from soccer. That's what the German fans always used to say when at the World Championships, Germany has the first goal and is leading the game. And they always had like, "Hurra, hurra, the Deutschen, die sind da," the Germans are here. Yeah. So, but just to say the German is here, for some people, it sounds like, 1944 or something. Wow. So it's a weird topic, but anyway, WWE did not say to me, "We want to have a soldier gimmick." Not at all. Not at all. I remember even like the Imperium stuff, Triple H made sure that let's do not get into the military section, because people will think, an Austrian guy, 2 Germans and an Italian, so it's, it's a coincidence, right? Yeah. But he was aware of it, and he was making sure, let's do not use bombs or do not use any military mentioned in any kind of promos or any kind of material, because he did not want to have like the stereotype of that.
Yeah.
But like the names of it, in that time I talked to Matt Bloom and said, to be honest, I do not want to take any of those names because in Germany right now nobody's called that anymore. And if somebody's still alive from that time, it's an old school name, and people will not take it like in a good way, because they automatically would think WWE will make me a Nazi character or something, which I would refuse 100%. So, and then how it is, right? They have something, you say, no, I do not want to take it. What do you have for ideas? If you do not want to take it, you have an alternative, let me know. I had already a name list, and the first name was Alexander, and the second name was Wolfe, but just the animal, WOLF, not with an E on the end. And then luckily they said, okay, we want to use Alexander Wolfe, but just with the E on the end, that they can copyright it, because the animal, you cannot copyright it. That is the entire story of it. But the entire story of the name is, again, Germany has more history than just war. And in Orlando, Florida, there's one thing very special. There's theme parks.
Yeah.
And especially the Disney theme parks.
Yeah.
And Disney brought out some fairy tales like Snow White and the Huntsman, and et cetera, et cetera. And Germany is very famous for the fairy tales, Brother Grimm, Red Hood, and some other stuff. But it's not the Disney version, not the we sing along where everybody's happy, and even the villain is very cute. The stories or the fairy tales in Germany are very brutal and very violent and very, creepy.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you have like the Red Hood character with the wolf in the wood, like a little girl walks through the woods, wants to visit her grandmother, and there's a big wolf on the way and asks the girl, "Where are you going?" And then he figures out, and he's the grandmother, and then you have the, "Why are your eyes so big?" "To see you better." "Why your teeth, your teeth so big or so long?" "To eat you better." And then the hunter comes by and cuts out the girl with the grandma out of the stomach and everything. So it's very brutal. And there's some more fairy tales, and like even Snow White and the Huntsman, like the original fairy tales are kind of horror movies.
Yeah.
And I thought about this could be a good thing, like the name Wolf, because the majority of it is like the wolf was always a villain in the fairy tales. And also in Germany, in the woods, you had a lot of wolves, and like the farmers and everything been very frightening about the wolves, because they always ripped the sheep and the goats. So it was the perfect villain for everything. And I thought, like, I'm a German guy in America, so I will be a villain no matter what.
Yeah.
So let's use that name and try to tell my heritage with going way past World War I and World War II, and try to apply this kind of like say, okay, life is good if you see it through, the Disney sunglass, but my reality is this, for example. Yeah. And I try to portray kind of like a fairy tale guy who tells you a fairy tale about reality, kind of like, what is the name of the guy? Mr. Rogers and Mad Hatter, or kind of like this version, Tim Burton stuff. So that was my first vision, what I had in my mind. And then they gave me the SAnitY character, and just had to put this character into that and turn it up and just make it more freakish.
As we, wind this down here, do you feel like you still have a lot to prove, like that people weren't able to see who you really are and what you're really capable of in WWE?
Yeah, for sure. My time in WWE was great, but before I went before I switched over to NXT UK, I never had a singles match on a television program. Even as a SAnitY, I was between the leader and between the big guy. So, which means I was the weak link, even if I had my time and I had my showcase things with the match where we won the tag team titles or the War Games match. But I always felt kind of like left on the side. But again, that's the role, and I tried my best to showcase myself and just showcase the entire group. But when I went to NXT UK, I actually had the chance to show a little bit of my wrestling abilities. And again, wrestling and WWE is, entertainment is better than wrestling for WWE. Okay, I get that, but I never really had the chance to have like bigger matches, to had like really a showcase. I remember I had some big matches against Ilya Dragunov on NXT UK, but we tried to get on a takeover program, but we were on the position to just to highlight the shows more than the takeover. And yeah, I think right now I have a lot to prove. Of course, that's why I want to kind of like go into the indies and see how I get my name out there, even if I established brand right now thanks to the time in WWE. But I still have a lot to prove, and I'm still not done yet with everything. Like,
well, now you've got the chance to do that.
For me right now.
You've got the chance to do that now and manifest, like you talked about earlier, manifest whatever you want to be next for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I end every interview with the same question, and this has been great, by the way. And I'm so glad that our technology has held up through this as well. This has been
finally
great.
Right.
I end every interview talking about gratitude. So for you, Axel, what are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for right now?
I'm grateful for my family. I have a healthy, very, very active son, which is great. And he's really a bundle of joy for me day in and day out. I'm grateful for my wife because she is my biggest supporter next to my parents, but she is such an amazing person and the love of my life, because not only we click together, like it's a no-brainer for us. She really supports me in everything, and she understands even right now that I'm busier than before. But even at that time with WWE, she was the perfect fit for, hey, Adi, I'm leaving now for 5 days. And yeah, fine, have fun, and just see you around, kind of, and just let's have a chat on the telephone. But she made me she made it, or she still makes it very easy for me to be away from home. I know a lot of relationships can be very like in a way of like, why are you going again, blah blah blah, but she's so cool with it, and she's such a big supporter. And even like, she takes care of the private life, and I try to take care that the private life is easy. That makes sense. So I'm going to work and she takes care of everything at home, which is a super, super, super awesome way of life. Also, I'm grateful for still being healthy and everything, and being kind of mental able enough to continue my journey as a professional wrestler.
Where's the best way that people can connect with you?
I'm on Instagram, which is Xman3016 Wolfe without the E, and on Twitter, which is just Xman3016. Also, Pro Wrestling Tees, I have a shop right there, just to plug a little bit some merch. The Pro Wrestling Tees shop in Germany is called SL Wrestling. I'm there as well with some different merch than Pro Wrestling Tees, but it's more like for the German market or European market. Also, I'm on Cameo, Xman3016. And also, I want to mention, I got myself a new sponsor, which is Grabs. It's like a new professional wrestling, catch wrestling brand, which started from the UK right now, and it's a very fast growing brand. And yeah,
I have a few of their shirts. They are great.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
What's the 3016 mean?
I'm a huge Steve Austin fan, and I was thinking about something like on using on the handle, and you cannot use the double dot. So that's why I choose like this 30 for the double 16. So 316.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
So you're saying Austin 3016 says no.
Probably. Yeah, no, because I when I grew up in wrestling, he was my favorite superstar. I met him once in WrestleMania Dallas 2015.
Yeah.
No, 2016. And usually you say never meet your idols because they will disappoint you, but he was the coolest dude ever, because I was nobody. I had the balls to walk up straight to him and start a conversation with him because I had like a funny story I had to tell him. And as a podcaster, you like funny stories. So, but no, he was super sweet. And even he took a picture with me after he blew out his shoulder at the WrestleMania gig. And I didn't know it. So I was, he's maybe pissed off because right now I'm annoying him. No, he was super cool. So,
wow.
Still awesome fan.
Thank you again for this. It's so good to connect with you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for your time, by the way.
Of course, anytime.